Good Wednesday morning. How is everybody today?
I don't know. How is everybody? Huh? How's everybody?
You got me going on
today?
This morning. I'm like, what are you over there doing?
I didn't know if I should click myself in or what. I was like, well, maybe I just need to put myself on the screen, I guess.
Oh my gosh. Hey, but guess what? I'm not down in the other office so that we actually we're on and we're not having to fight connection issues.
Yeah, I wonder. That was so wild. I wonder what the deal was. That was so weird.
Well, I honestly, I'm getting, conspiracy theory. I don't know if I want to say conspiracy theory syndrome. CTS. Oh my God, please. So I'm not putting that comment up. Lisa wants to say good morning this morning, but I'm not going to put that comment up because it is hot. I mean, I agree, but that's. We're all up this morning, but I can't stop laughing. I guess that's a good thing because if we stop to really think about some of the things that have been happening lately, I think I'll start crying. So let's keep it with the laughing, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think.
White.
Why are you doing? You're such an oddity. So did you have a weekend?
Yeah, pretty good. How about you?
I don't remember it.
Wow.
That's
Independence weekend was so good for you, you can't even remember it. You were that free.
We're coming into, and Kennedy understands this. I'll ask her this when we bring her on. It's coming into food season. So, it's like all weekend, what do? Slice peaches, make peach jam. Over the weekend, we had the weirdest smell in this house because I was doing onions at the same time I was doing peaches. It was like, what is that smell? It's like an onion peach smell. What is that? It was a little crazy there. Sounds in the good. House. We had some interesting smells going on. So we have a guest today that is the youngest guest that we've had on this podcast.
What are you trying to say?
Well, that you're not young for sure, but I was.
Don't tell my kids that.
Well, don't worry. It'll show up. It'll show up on you like it's showing up on me. So just hang in there. but she is the youngest person that we've had on our podcast. And I'm super excited about that because I love it when we have firsts, don't you?
Sure do. And for another first, Jenny, I'm working on that call-in number that we're going to put on the podcast. So
Okay.
I'll put the telephone number down there on the little ticker. I thought I was going to have it finished up this morning, but there's a small issue. But we will have a call-in number for anybody that just wants to call in rather than make comments on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or wherever.
So now we're going to be like Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Okay.
Now, I hope we have, I know we want to get to Kennedy, but I hope we have some Jenny White deniers out there that will call in every now and then just to harass us. I hope we get some of those.
What we need. That's exactly what we need. All right. Well, let's bring on Kennedy this morning and meet Kennedy. Good morning, Kennedy. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm here.
You are. And you managed it. We got everything up and working, and you're not in and out, and everything is working great. So I want to ask you a little bit because I was so excited that you were able to come on this morning. And you're the youngest person we've had on the podcast as a guest. We had you on the podcast because you are one heck of a go-getter, girl. I mean, you are involved in, it's the Young Republicans, right?
The grassroots youth.
Okay. And you are director of outreach, I think, aren't you, for youth for OKGOP?
Yeah, following the convention, Charity was like, do you want to be the director of youth outreach? And I was like, sure.
I like that. So, but here's the thing. Most people your age, and I'm just going to say under 25, because I think it's indelicate to talk about girls' ages. How did you decide you were going to be, how did you get interested in politics?
So it's a really funny story. I did not want to get involved in politics at all. I was actually vehemently against it. And
really?
Yes, we only moved to Oklahoma 3 years ago. And I'm from California. I don't tell people that.
We'll forgive you.
Yeah, I know. I tell people and they're so surprised. But I started dating a House of Representatives son. And so I just wanted to impress his parents. I didn't care about politics at all. And I started going to meetings. And it was like a switch just flipped. And I was like, this is fun. I like this. This actually feels like it matters. Like, there's so many hobbies you can throw yourself into. It's like, okay, but are you helping people? And with this, I was like, this is fun and it's making a difference and I'm good at it. And it's an output for my energy and it gives me a sense of, some purpose. And I was like, I like this. And so I kept going.
Well, I have to say for energy, people have called me over the years the Energizer Bunny. I think you definitely get that name. So tell people what all you do in a day.
Well, I woke up this morning and I milk. We have milk goats, so I milk the goat, and then me and my mom do the chores. We have pigs, chickens, and all of the good things. And then I'm doing the podcast this morning, and then right after I get off this, I got to go to work. My days are pretty random. I try. Like yesterday, I was fixing the lawnmower. They're very sporadic. Today, I'll probably come home from work and then go door knocking about the data center in the neighborhood. So just kind of really figuring out a time blocking schedule I'm discovering is very necessary in this to be the most productive I can be.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm terrible at that.
Yeah, appointments, scheduling. I love it, but then I'm such a perfectionist. I feel like I have to get it perfect before I can actually do it. And then I don't do anything. So I'm learning you just got to do it.
You know, it's fun. I'm laughing because I have the exact same problem. And my husband gets on to me. He'll go, if you would just schedule these things out, you wouldn't feel like you were pulling your hair out all the time. Well, but the problem is then you would have to sit down and put things away to do a schedule.
You'd have to schedule time to schedule. You have to schedule time to schedule, Jenny.
Yes. Yeah.
So right there, I'm like, out.
I was laughing because you said you were processing peaches, and we're so behind this year. We bought peach trees, and they are still in the pots. We didn't plant them yet.
Yeah, I mean, they'll actually grow in the pot, believe it or not, but it does help to get them in the ground.
Yeah.
So when you moved from, did you guys move from California just because of politics, or was it just because how did you pick Oklahoma? I'm just curious.
So growing up, my family, we always wanted out of California. It was something, on Sunday mornings, we would be looking at real estate as a family. I have a big family. My mom came from a family of 5 girls, and then they all got married. And so it's my uncles, my aunts, and I have a bunch of cousins. And we moved from California to Arizona, actually, to get out because of the politics. We loved it. I lived in the foothills of the Sierras. So when I say California, it's not like Orange County or the city. We had 15 acres, and it was really quiet, peaceful.
Oh, wow.
But it was we always wanted out. And so we moved to Arizona, and that was good. We lived there for 7 years. And so I didn't like the desert. It's not my thing. I love Oklahoma. It's green. There's trees, and
it's humid.
It's humid, but it's so healthy for your skin because in Arizona, the dry gets to you, it's bad for you. It ages you really fast.
Maybe I haven't lived in Arizona, but Robert says, and this is true, and I think Lisa will probably say it too, because Lisa's from California. I find California transplants and other lib state refugees are some of the staunchest populist conservatives I know. So kind of segueing into what we want to talk, because you have to get off of here at 9:50 and we don't want to hold you. You said you weren't all that interested in politics until you moved to Oklahoma.
I was always super conservative. Like, there's a picture of me when I was like 8 holding a sign that said Obama must go, because my family did like Tea Party stuff. And so I would consider myself patriotic and conservative and things, but I never really paid attention to the local level. It was very federal focused.
So just out of curiosity, have you kind of found that, or do you feel like people are now more centering on local?
I mean, I actually think even in the last couple months, if not weeks, people are really getting frustrated with the federal level at a rate that we've never, I don't feel like I've seen before. I know I'm not that old, so I can't speak on that very much, but people are done. They're done feeling like their voice doesn't matter. And I think if you really turn people's focus to the local level, they're like, oh, what I say actually it makes a difference. I can stop things, I can change things. And I think that they don't even realize it. And so that's what we have to really explain to people. It's like, yeah, this House rep race, he won by 2 votes. So those 2 people, they mattered a lot. And I think that's like, oh, okay.
You were homeschooled, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to say this because it's going to come out sounding funny. But I know that as a homeschooler myself, right? I mean, you're in kind of a bubble, if you will, because you're not put in with, the public school kids, and you tend to be more insulated from things as a homeschooler, which is part of the reason we homeschool, right? I mean, for that reason. the people in your age group that you know that you've bumped up against, are they interested in politics? If they're interested in politics, do they think more on the federal level? Do they think, I mean, what are you kind of seeing in your age group?
I think it's a mixture. I think there's a whole generation of us that we're just kind of sick of being spoon fed the same thing. And I'm all of a sudden seeing it. Like, I mean, you said you were going to have Trenton Rippey on here. We were discussing it, and I was like, people are done. And the thing is, what I'm seeing personally is the whole reason I'm a Republican is because we're principled. And what we're seeing right now within the Republican Party, people are not being principled. And for me, principle outweighs party every day, every time. And I mean, even the fact that when Thomas Massey stood up against the big, beautiful bill, Trump was like, I'm going to pay someone to primary him. That is not something the president should be involved in at all. That is a dictator, is what it looks like. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, and then this whole thing with like the Epstein list and all that garbage, or we're sending more money to Ukraine all of a sudden. And I'm like, and Republicans are so far into the savior complex of Trump can do no wrong that they're like, well,
5D chess, Kennedy.
Chess, just keep playing the chess game. And I'm like, the chess game is you're the only one being played. We're the only one being played. And so, and that doesn't mean I'm abandoning the party by any chance. It's just, they're so all or nothing. We're starting to look just like the very people that we don't agree with because we're losing our principles. And it's frustrating.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, Candy, because we talk about all the time on this show that no one is coming to save us. Just to think that just because Trump's in office or this guy or this person or whoever is in office is everything's going to be okay. And that's kind of that sentiment about all this 5D chess BS, in my opinion, is, oh, they're in office, so we don't have to do anything. We can just, go on cruise control. And I think that's what, the establishment government wants us to think in one way or another. So I'm glad to hear you say that organically, not coming from us or someone else, that you just realize that yourself. So congratulations.
And it's not popular. It's not, I mean, people are like all the time, wow. And I'm like, it's just logic. Like, it's not that hard. The problem is, you know how he always used to say, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in the way. I told my mom yesterday, I said, they're not after him, they're after us. But now he's blocking our view. He's standing in the way, but in this case now it's flipped and he's in our way and we can't see that. And we're like, no different than the reason I'm so passionate as someone who didn't grow up in Oklahoma. Oklahomans have a very false sense of security because we're a red state. And that frustrates me a lot. Like I regularly, there's a moving to Oklahoma group on Facebook, and I will regularly get in there just to stir the pot because it makes me so frustrated. And I want people to see, if you're moving here for these values, you darn well better start getting involved to keep them that way or to bring them back, because we're really not that red. And people they just get mad and they're in denial. I'm like, okay, well then tell me why we're 49th in education, or I can't even remember how low we are. And I'm like, why do we have chemtrails? Why do we have fluoride in our water? Why all these things if we're so, just stop rebranding it. It's just what it is.
Lisa has said, and I haven't seen her comment on here in a second, but Lisa is a regular viewer and a friend, and who moved from California, and she said so many of the same things. And she said even before about how people who come in from outside can see it better than the people who live here, because the people who live here, you just kind of, it's the frog in the boiling pot. You don't really notice it. It's another day in Oklahoma. And until all of a sudden you bump up against something, like you try to go get your car tag, and then you're told, you have to have this, you have to have a real ID, or and you can't do this until you have that. And then you think, well, wait a minute, why is this happening? So Oklahomans are, we've always been told that we're the reddest state. We've always been told that we're in the Bible Belt. And it's just so hard for people to peek over that wall and see that that's not true, that people like you and other people who come in from other states like California go, what is the matter with you people? Wake up.
Well, and it had to be shown. It had to be shown to me because I didn't understand. But once I learned, I was like, it's almost like I couldn't live with myself if I didn't start talking about this. It's kind of how I feel.
And see it.
Mm-hmm. Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss.
Well,
it's almost like, Jenny, it's almost like that red state is just like a moniker to where we're pretty purple, trending towards bluish, but to say just to keep the moniker that we're red, is almost like a slap in the face, in my opinion.
Well, and there's a comment. We've had a couple of comments, but I haven't thrown them up because I wanted to hear what you had to say. And Dorn, I haven't forgotten yours. And so you might note that one, Kennedy. And let's talk about that in just a second. He wants to know about the energy requirements for the data center. And let's talk about that in a second. But Adam Hawley had said, it was surprising how much the system discouraged homeschooling. I had to prove more as a homeschool graduate to get into a junior college than those in the public school system. We had the same problem. So close to losing the red state, just like the last Tulsa mayor paid liberals and Democrats to move to Tulsa, but refused to reimburse conservatives. Mm-hmm. And that's more like China red. That's the red state. Yeah, good one, Dorn. I like that one. Lisa, there she is. Oklahomans. That can't happen here in Oklahoma. This isn't California.
That makes me, when they tried to pass, what was it, HB? I don't remember the bill number. When they tried to
I don't remember. Just what was it?
When they tried to make homeschool families do background checks,
yeah.
I was told that will never happen here. And I was like, so we're just not going to call about this because it'll never happen. Yeah. Okay. I was really shocked at how much people are just comfortable. And that's scary. We already have problems with DHS. We don't need DHS involved in our homeschool families. That's what other states do. That's one of the
You already have. Let's say that again. You kind of cut out a minute.
We don't need the DHS involved in our homeschooling. Okay. I mean, that's the whole reason we moved here. One of the reasons Tennessee has terrible homeschooling laws. And I love Tennessee. And Tennessee passed a bill against chemtrails, but their homeschooling laws are terrible.
So many are. I think we are still, and Robert can help me out with that. I think we're still the least regulated state in homeschooling in all of the 50. But the problem is once we get the government involved on any level, including tax credits, that starts going away. So, but we won't go there because we're 23 minutes into this. And what we want to talk about too right now is you got involved in something that's going on in your neighborhood. And I want you to talk about what that is.
Yeah. So, they're putting in a 500-acre data center a mile from my house.
500. Let that sink in, people.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, my property is 3 acres. So in perspective, I mean, it's a lot. I took some notes here. I was talking to someone yesterday. So 500 acres is 22 million square feet. And they're projecting, I don't know how much off the top of my head, I don't remember how much energy it's going to take, so I can't answer that question. but it's going to take 7 million gallons of water a day. Is the projected usage.
Robert wanted to know what the cross streets are on that.
Sheridan. It's between Sheridan and Yale and 86th and 76th. So right across from the
Sheridan and Yale. That's almost downtown, isn't it?
No, so the streets pick up again up north. So you're looking at
okay.
Whirlpool is north of the airport.
Okay. Now I know where you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is an industrial area, but their argument was so flimsy of like, well, we already have a bunch there, so why not put this? But this is not going to create that many jobs. I'm working on pulling those stats. You know, everyone knows data centers, once they're built, they don't need hardly anyone at them. And it's different than the Whirlpool across the street. That employs hundreds of people. That's great. I'm all for economic growth and development, but not this. This will take the water usage of this yearly will be the equivalent of 30,000 households.
Wow.
One data center.
And they're not recycling or recirculating the water.
No. So I was talking to Darren Blanchard and he was like, a lot of this will evaporate. So it's gone. Gone every day. And that's every single day of the week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. That's not a household where you're turning water on at certain times. That's constant.
Well, I want to ask you something before I forget about this. So you and I were talking before you came on and you said something that I thought was absolutely just phenomenal. I said, well, how, we were talking about the data center and something, and you said, something about being an expert. Talk about that just 1 second.
So I think kind of my little mission statement that I kind of formed 2 years ago when I first realized what was going on, I was like, they're counting on our lack of education and we get intimidated when we don't know something. We all do that. They're counting on us not knowing to keep us from saying anything. And the reality is you don't have to be the expert. I mean, I went to the county commissioner meeting on Monday and I had to ask the county commissioners 3 times to remind me of the acronym of whatever I was talking about. I don't do this for a job. I don't know the answers, but I got it pushed back a week. And I didn't go in there with a PhD or a binder full of statistics yet. I didn't have the time. We found out Thursday night over the holiday weekend that they were voting on Monday morning. And so we went in Monday morning and I just basically begged and then threatened their seats. And they gave us a week. And I found out that out of those 3 county commissioners, one of them didn't even know about this data center until that morning at that meeting. And I felt bad for being so aggressive because that wasn't his fault. He didn't know either. His co-board members, they didn't tell him. And so that was Kelly Dunkerley. He tried to give us till August and Stan Sully would not let him. Yeah. He tried.
And Kelly Dunkerley was the one who didn't know about the data center?
Yes. And so I feel bad. Like I would have had a different approach. But I found out that Stan Sully is the president of NCOG. And NCOG is the one presenting all of this. And he's also the county commissioner that the data center is going in. So that's nice.
Well, and so I think you found out what so many of us have found out is that they do a lot of things behind the scenes, even though they're supposed to be doing them in public. Mm-hmm. And they do a lot of things behind the scenes and then just go, oh, well, we've got this coming up. Mm-hmm. So you live about a mile from the proposed site. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. 1 square mile. Country block.
So what do you suspect is going to be, if this thing goes in, what do you suspect is going to happen to you and your neighbors?
I don't know. I mean, my biggest concerns is they're saying it's not going to affect the water pressure, but we already have terrible water pressure. property value, the noise, the chemicals. I mean, I heard that in Muskogee, I need to verify this, but someone on my Facebook told me I live in Muskogee and our data center is already leaking contaminants and they're not doing anything about it. So it's concerning.
Yeah, that is something that we need to look up about, because I do think that, going back to the topic of focusing locally, and Michael and I will probably talk about this after you've gone on, the Epstein thing, well, yeah, of course we need to continue sending weapons to Ukraine.
Well, isn't it convenient that all came up when 3 different states were traumatically flooded in like 3 days? Isn't that convenient?
Yeah, all of it just seems, and I definitely think, we had, I don't know if you remember this, but our new Senator Kendall Sacchieri had brought to bear a bill to try to stop chemtrails in Oklahoma. So weather modification and any other thing that they were spraying into the atmosphere, and didn't even get a hearing. I mean, our Oklahoma legislature wouldn't even hear it. And I think if we want things to change, one of the things that we're going to have to do then is to activate locally to try to make these people understand that our liberty is affected if our house is washed away in a flood, or if we're having things sprayed from the skies that prevent, the maximum amount of sun's rays coming. I mean, all of the things that can be happening that we actually now know are happening, because you can find this information on the NOAA weather radar, NOAA weather.
What makes me most upset is I'm like, who is paying all these meteorologists to come out and say, it went from, we can't manipulate the weather during Hurricane Helene, they all came out and said, we can't do that. Now they're saying, well, we can, but it's not related. And I'm like, the math isn't mathing.
I saw the math isn't mathing. I saw somebody on a Facebook post this morning as I was just kind of trolling through quickly. I saw a Facebook post. It was a meteorologist from Texas talking about how, yes, they've seen all this information about cloud seeding on social media, and that people are talking about the fact that cloud seeding caused all of the flooding, or caused the flooding and the rivers to rise, and that kind of thing. And all I could think of was, because the post was very well, that's not something that's going to cause rivers to rise, and the cloud seeding isn't going to make giant amounts of rainfall in one place. This is what this means. Michael, you're giggling. That wasn't going to happen. And so I just put as a comment underneath the post, I put, yes, we should always trust the experts.
Always. And I was thinking, wow, what if one meteorologist actually came out? What would they do to him? It's like the medical industry is getting that way. And I was like, man, like, how do these guys sleep at night? Because they're all so smart. You can't tell me that they don't actually know. They're just, what are they? They're being threatened. They're being paid. Because it will
I don't know.
People to just start saying, yeah, this could probably happen. And then people will be like, oh.
Well, I think some of it is because you said they're smart. I think that's the problem. I think there are so many people that are so smart that think they're smarter than us, that have all the answers, and we're a bunch of dummies. And so they can do all of this because they know better. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you this. What's your next step on the data center?
I have been on the phone the past 2 days constantly. This afternoon, I'm probably going to go door knocking and find out. They were required to notify the neighborhood within 300 feet. The sad part is my driveway is longer than 300 feet, so that doesn't give me much to work with, but it's a start. And we have a petition going. a moratorium petition that I think 340 people so far have signed, and I've only had that up since Sunday night. And the meeting they tabled it till Wednesday at 10 o'clock. So Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we'll have to make our case again, basically. And so I'm planning on emailing them a bunch of evidence and statistics before Wednesday, praying to God that they do something, see something, at least just table it longer. And the attorney was already like, just pushing it back. They wouldn't push it back till August because they had millions of dollars of equipment to order. And I was like, that's not
Whoa.
Every
Okay,
time
so
the county commissioners a question, they would look at the attorney to answer me. And I was like, I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to you three.
I do hope you pointed that out. And well, I'm so glad that people are so important that we're more worried about, ordering the stuff. Oh my, that would have sent me into some kind of spastic fit right there. We're going to go back and get some of these comments here in a minute. I just wanted to make sure we had plenty of time with Kennedy before she leaves. So Catherine is saying the claim is that it will have 200 long-time tech jobs. It will be 4 different data centers, according to Rep. Clinton. They don't know who, though. Google, Amazon, Meta, etc. That's ridiculous, Catherine. How can they not know?
So there's an NDA on who the company is. So we don't. We're trying really hard to find out so we could have a better estimate. I do have a professor out of Jinx. He's currently looking into that aspect so we can actually try to get a more, there was no concrete evidence of how many jobs they're going to actually provide. So we're trying to look into that because I don't think it's going to be 200 long-time tech jobs, and they're probably going to be sourced from like Silicon Valley, not Oklahoma.
Well, I think it's important to point out here that when we had Canoe, remember Canoe and the electric vehicles, and we gave Canoe $1 million of Oklahoma taxpayer dollars, and they were supposed to hire, I think it was 1,200. It just kept shrinking. They started out at 27, then it was 1,500, then it just kept shrinking. And then finally, they actually did hire some tech people, but they brought them in from California.
Mm-hmm. They're not even hiring local companies to do the construction work. We're trying to pull all the facts on that. I don't want to say anything I don't know for sure, but it's very fishy.
Lisa says more water in general is needed for all AI centers. Where it's supposed to come from. Now think about this in the weather modification that they're doing. Well, and that's interesting. So we're seeding the clouds so we can get more water in an area so that we can use that water for data centers. I think that would be tricky though. And
I have people tell me, why are we fighting this? Because they're just going to flood Oklahoma next. And I'm like, you can't let that intimidate you though.
Yeah. So Adam, this is a good one, Kennedy. You probably want to tuck this in your hat for later. An audit for conflicts of interest. I don't know who would do. I'm not sure if
a lot of information, like the attorney, for instance, the attorney representing the company that we don't know. Bringing it in, he has a bunch of.
Hold on. What happened, Michael?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Kennedy, talk again.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Something wacko was going on there with the audio and we couldn't hear you at all. What about the SAI? What about the state auditor and inspector? Can she do, I wonder?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. Because there's a lot of conflicts of interest going on. The attorney representing them, he's on a bunch of boards it's just very conflict of interest. So I don't know how to actually do something with it, but I'm trying to figure out because it all looks as fishy as possible. So,
Well, and Dorn points out that the impact to Oklahomans will not just be the neighbors next door, being that the energy required will be significant. So a need for more solar, more wind turbines in other counties. My point is it's just bigger than local issues. So that's another good point to hang in there. Thank you, Dorn. That's a great one. And Robert, I'm going to get back to your ones here in just a second. There was another one I wanted to, I have to stick this one in. Calm down, please.
yeah, I unfollowed every meteorologist in the past since Hurricane Helene. I am so tired of them. It was not the Holy Spirit in me that wanted to comment. I was like, I have to unfollow. They're just gaslighting people.
I would love to get the older retired meteorologists in the same room with the younger. It would be an interesting chat. And Wendy says, good luck, Kennedy. Oh, hang on. We'll get to that in just a second. 200 jobs versus thousands of people and animals becoming ill and land being destroyed sounds like a real bargain. Again, I would, Wendy says there's a dam in western Oklahoma across a dry river. That's interesting. We're going to go back and look at some of these. Oh, here's a good one too. Rhonda said this, Rhonda Markham. How many years tax deferred is this data center? Stillwater's is 25.
Wow.
Rhonda, are you saying
Talk
25
about a sellout.
tax deferred?
Yeah, looks like it. I'm sure, Jenny.
Crazy.
This has to stop. I mean, literally, this has got to stop. I mean, Kennedy, do you think that that's a huge talking point for you? Because I know that when they're trying to put one in Luther, and one of the things that our mayor had said was, well, that this will bring in a lot of ad valorem tax because, schools need to have more money. How do you get out of 49th? Only by throwing more money at them.
Owasso Public Schools is very happy about their new STEM program that's going to happen because of this data center.
She said it. Yep. 25 years tax deferred. That's absolutely unfreaking forgivable.
That's crazy.
So I think honestly, though, I mean, good for Rhonda for sticking that in there, because I think that's something that you can use and tie that in and say, look, if you're going to tax defer this, don't tell me that it's going to help our community, because none of those dollars are going to go back to schools or the city or anything else. So how is that helping our community? It's just sucking the life out of it.
Exactly.
That is absolutely, sorry, I got sidetracked by that. That's just absolutely, and I think maybe even I would say that I think that's, there's a word that I'm not drawing right now. But it's not being a good steward of tax dollars. It's not being a good steward of your community as a mayor or a county commissioner. If you're going to allow something that's going to use that many resources and not contribute to the community for 25 years, that has to be some form of insanity.
Or they're getting paid.
Or there's that. Okay, well, you're about having to get off of here, so I want to stop and kind of defer to you. Is there anything that you want to say to young people, to parents of young people, anything that pops up?
I mean, just the fact that you have to speak the truth even if your voice shakes. I don't remember who said that. That's a quote from somewhere.
Well,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Because I mean, every time I go on a stage or before the county commissioners, no one really knows. I watched the Fox 23 News interview. I looked so calm. I wanted to puke my guts up, and I was shaking so bad. I was terrified, and I did it anyway. So I think that's something. I mean, I almost don't like how calm I look because I wish people could see me as just one of them. I'm not any smarter. I'm just mad and I let that fuel me.
Well, and I think what you do on the farm gives you an ability to practice a lot of self-control. And I think that's one thing. I mean, if I would talk to parents, I would say you have got to give your young people things to do that allow them to build their self-control, because you can't do what you did or what I do or anybody else like that does until you have an ability to not puke your guts out in front of other people instead of talking.
And it's hard. I mean, they kept letting the attorney get the last word. And I was like, point of order, why does he get to rebut everything I'm saying? When I'm asking you guys, and you don't even know, and you're deferring to him over and over. I said, I don't want him to have, I'm speaking, and I want you to let me speak. They were like, you get 2 minutes. And I was like, no, I get more than that. Thank you. And it was just very frustrating. And I lost my temper several times.
You what?
I lost my temper. I'm not perfect.
Well, but I think here's the thing, and I want to double down on what you said. If they put us in that position and we let ourselves be put in that position where we're going to get railroaded or we're going to be told what's going to happen, that's on us. That's on us. So there's no reason that you can't politely, I mean, I don't advocate violence at all, or, even being ugly doesn't help you, doesn't help the cause. But if you say, no, I need more time than that, I'm not going to go by the 2-minute rule. We are citizens of this state and citizens of our counties and of our cities. And government has no money other than it robs from us. Mm-hmm. So if we're the ones paying for all of that, we're the ones that have the say. Period. End of story. And I think you're correct about that. We have to be willing to say politely, no, I'm not accepting your 2-minute guideline. I'm paying for this. I'm a member of this community, and I say no.
Yeah. Well, I think our generation, we need to get back to just being assertive is not aggressive. Because they try to paint you as aggressive for just speaking the truth. And you got to speak the truth in love, but it's not aggressive. It's more loving to call people out than to let them continue on in their blindness.
Well, at least the Bible says that, right? Well, Kennedy, it has been a blessing to have you on with us today. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. All I can think of is to say, you go, girl, because but and continue on doing what you're doing and rope in others your age and your sisters and continue to keep pulling them in that direction, because we need more of what you got.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. And I'm sorry I couldn't talk longer, but
totally get it. But thank you so much for being on.
The 2 things I would really ask is just prayer. We need a lot of prayer about the data center, and then just the petition is going around. It's statewide petition. So.
And where can they find the petition again?
It's on my Facebook, and then I can send it to whoever. I can give it to you to share.
Yes. If you'll do that, then I'll throw that up on the website with my synopsis of our visit today. So yeah, send it to me and we'll do that. All right, Kennedy, God bless you. Really appreciate you so much. Hang in there. And if you ever need anything from us, me and Michael are here to help. Right, Michael?
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. And good luck with the data center.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. That girl is, man, she's a go-getter. We need, if we had even 7 more Kennedy Garzas, we would be a different place.
Well, I think the good news is, Jenny, you see young people like her are really coming, waking up a lot faster to the real world of tyranny in one way or another, and just a total manipulation state of everything. And that's, I mean, I can tell you, when I was her age, I had no clue about anything that was going on in any capacity. I can tell you that.
Well, I mean, I did, but it was like, where are the parties for the weekend? That was,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
was too busy hitting golf balls and trying to survive.
I was too busy trying to find the parties. I mean,
But as a compliment to her also, I mean, think about all of the distraction now in today's time compared, rewind 20 years, 30 years. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't have all the internet the way that it is. You didn't, you weren't buried in a device right in your face for 8, 10, 12, 16 hours a day, like all these young people are now.
and it's funny because Dave and I were talking about that just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and about how hard it is for even adult people at this point to disconnect themselves from
Oh yeah.
a screen of any kind. And when we were kids, obviously we had TV, but the phone was the old, pick it up and dial it, and then we were laughing because the only reason we would come home after school would be because it was Wednesday and the after school special was on. We were like, we gotta be home because at 3:00 the afternoon special is on. And they always sucked and they were stupid. And if you went back and looked at them now, they were probably woke, which probably helped, push things along. But I just remember, I mean, because other than that, we were outside
Oh yeah.
90% of the day, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the Panhandle. I grew up in Guyman. We didn't even have cable as a kid, us. And you think you're going to get TV stations, over the air out in the Panhandle? I mean, I didn't have a cell phone. Literally, I didn't have a cell phone until my wife, now Lauren, she got me a cell phone when we first started dating.
No
I
way.
think, oh yeah, yeah. She's like, you need a cell phone. I was like, I don't need a cell phone. But I mean, I
Well, she
never
needed
watched.
to keep track of you, Michael.
Yeah. I never watched TV. It just, none of that was important to me the way that, it's just mainstream now. I mean, you have to have it I'd say you have to have it. You don't have to have it, but yeah, I agree.
So, Sean, I'm going to back up and put some of these comments in because we had some good ones, and I just wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to talk to Kennedy before she had to leave. Abraham Lincoln once said, the philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next. Unfortunately, over the last decade, it's been liberal ideology that's been taught, which in turn translates to liberal indoctrinated students, which in turn translates into liberal indoctrinated adults, which is true. And Reagan, oh my gosh, this is so true. There's a false sense of security I've noticed in Native Oklahomans, unfortunately. That kind of complacency is very dangerous to freedom.
100%. And complacency is the 100% correct word there, because just saying, oh, we're red state, we're all red, we vote red in every single county, we're the only state like that. That is 100% complacency. And in my opinion, Jenny, and I'm sure you'd agree also, we've been hijacked by the tyrannical people, all the rhinos and everybody else, because they just say they're red. Just because they say they got an R by their name.
So here we go. Are you ready? I'm keeping a stack of these for when he runs. So this one is, across America, foreign landowners and wind energy schemes Greg Green stood and fought. He fought so well that he had to tell her Sandra to quit videoing.
Ain't no videoing.
Ain't no video.
Jenny, you're videoing that postcard right there, Jenny. Ain't no videoing of my postcard.
It's just crazy. Authored and passed legislation. Greg Green said no. He said, no, I'm not going to help you liberty-minded people. That's what he
said. No phones.
Stood
he said
and
no
fought
video.
liberty.
Hey, he left a word off there. It's no videoing. That's what he said no to. No videoing.
That's exactly right. We need to cross that out and put that out and go no videoing. He stood and fought videoing. Okay, so Democrat Representative Amanda Clinton is against this and is helping us that are working on it, the data center, I guess. She's requesting an interim study, but Speaker Hilbert will have to accept it. I contacted him to ask him if he'll accept it. Remove farmland so people must be enslaved to buy what we call food. Yeah, don't even get me started on that, Adam. Wow, more people need to know this. The claim is we talked about that one. Hopefully she will check with the SAI office to see about these conflict of interests. Talked about that one. Okay, so Robert says, I'm told Shane Jett is having an interim study on chemtrails. I do believe I saw that on the list.
I want to make a comment about all that geoengineering. I mean, you can put that comment up, but I mean, for anybody that has any kind of doubt whatsoever, you have, I don't know if many people have heard of Navy physicist Ben Livingston. Have you ever heard of Ben Livingston?
I haven't.
He was kind of affiliated with the Weather Channel and some things like that. But Jenny, the dude literally invented cloud seeding back in the 60s for the Navy, and they deployed that in Operation Popeye over in Vietnam, where the government literally said they tried to just flood, everything that was, I mean, you can go look, I mean, that's not like conspiracy theory. I mean, that's mainstream, that's literal mainstream science documentation, government funding and doing that to, in a wartime event. Operation Popeye, go look it up. I mean, Operation Popeye.
Well, it's kind of funny because, I mean, I love my husband. Wouldn't trade him for anything, but he and I butted heads on some. I know it's hard to believe that he and I would butt heads on things. But one of the things is he just has not believed in weather modification. And it wasn't until I literally went to the NOAA website and showed him where it showed, these people have this permit, these people have this permit. And he was like, oh, wow. Well, I mean, cloud seeding, though, that probably doesn't do much. Well, I'm not trying to take away anything. I mean, what has happened in Texas is horrific. And I just am sick to my stomach about it. I can't imagine. It's painful to even talk about having lost a child myself. I know what that's like to an extent. And I can't imagine. There were parents who literally lost more than one child at one time. How you do that. And Jesus, that's really literally the only thing that would save you. It would be Jesus. It would just be unbelievable. So I'm horrified by all of that. And my prayers go out to everybody, affected by that. And I'm not trying to make light of it or turn this into a conspiracy theory. But I do think we have to examine the fact that there was cloud seeding going on in that region for several days, and the day before that heavy rain actually happened. And when you look at the radar, it's one specific place. It's not a whole, it's not like a front came through and that kicked off a bunch of showers because of, hot air rising and cold air falling or whatever. I mean, there are things that we get to ask questions about, and that we can say, hey, I don't believe that or agree with that or something. doesn't sit well with me on that. We need to look into that more. That doesn't mean anything other than we need answers to questions, and people need to provide those.
Yeah. Well, and in the vein of that, on the conspiracy theory side, I mean, in reality, what hasn't the government weaponized? I mean, you think if they have the ability, the technology, and the science to manipulate weather in some capacity, they're not going to do it? I mean, give me a break. They're going to do it. Did they purposefully mean to go, cause a flash flood to kill a bunch of kids? I doubt it, but it happened, and we need to know why that happened. And if there was actual man-made interference in that in some capacity, we need to know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Robert did look it up. There's geoengineering weather modification. This study will examine documented technologies, applications, and science-based technology, identify publications, and compile state legislative and policy responses to the practice to differentiate between aviation condensation and aerosolized chemical or particulates. And I think that's well said, because there is not everything that you see going over your head is a chemtrail. I mean, I'm sorry, but there is condensation that happens dependent upon meteorological, whatever you want to call it.
Conditions.
Yeah.
Well,
so
and also
everything is a chemtrail.
Well, yeah, but we need to actually say, chemtrail is the word that the government's allowed to be branded on the side of conspiracy theory. I mean, the actual term is stratospheric aerosol injection. What is that? SAI. That's what the term is. You can literally go type into Google stratospheric aerosol injection. You'll see years, decades of science, of papers, of talks from all these guys, at all their little TED Talks and all their little white paper conferences where they're talking about it. So, they brand us on the chemtrail side because we use the wrong terminology, but the science is there.
What's it called again? Stratospheric
aerosol injection.
Stratospheric aerosol injection. Okay, so we'll just use that. And then
SAI.
that way,
SAI.
But not our state auditor and inspector who is running for lieutenant governor. Oh my goodness, what happened to my brain? It was like it just kind of went somewhere. So Wendy says Shane and Kendall submitted bills to rescind the laws that allow weather modification in Oklahoma. That's correct, because we had them. We had them on the books. Weather modification laws allowing that. We can't stop it because it's the law, believe it or not. Yeah, I had no clue either. That's why the interim, part of the reason. Robert, now he needs committee chair approval. And that's true. And I love that one. I would put that up. I'd put that on a t-shirt. And then Margie's. Sorry, I'm trying to go through these. Dana Mooney, I believe it's on the list of approved study. Quite frankly, why should a senator need to have an interim study approved? Amen, Wendy. We need to start asking these questions anytime our legislators have to ask permission to represent their constituents. Amen. 200 jobs versus the Dry River canoe. And now I hear the $250 million reserved for Panasonic is being moved to the aluminum factory. And I know...
Come to Oklahoma. We'll sell out. Come to Oklahoma. We'll give it all away.
That's what Stitt means by being open for business. He's just like, we're a sellout. You come here. I'm just going to give you all of the money that I steal from my citizenry. That's what open for business means.
Yeah.
That's what that means. They're currently flooding Oklahoma. Adam Hawley, I'd be happy to help with this. Rep Clinton has requested the study. Okay, we looked at that one. And the 25 years. Rhonda, I think you get the prize for making me maddest today. Yes, it's on the approved list from the pro tem. Yes. That's correct. It gets me that what our reps have to deal with. My goodness, it's crazy up there. That's absolutely true. Meteorologists are paid by that is true. Right? I mean, think about that as a conflict of interest. Pretty big one. That land in Stillwater will be destroyed, and the data center will be long gone before they ever pay a penny of that tax.
Yeah.
And that's basically how that's working. Why 25 years? For that reason. For that exact reason. They're also allowed to build their own power plants, right? The behind the meter stuff that we talked to Brad Bowles about. Remember, we did a special podcast on that. A part of the Tulsa Greenwood reparations mentioned buying back land. Is this not land that could be used to benefit the community? North Tulsa Regenerative Ranch instead, greenhouse and nurseries. Yeah, but that would be helpful and useful. And I'm not sure why we would want to be helpful or useful, especially with Oklahoma tax dollars. Kennedy Godspeed. Samuel Adams quoted in 1776 a warning, how strangely are the tools of a tyrant pervert. How strangely are the tools of a tyrant pervert the plain meaning of words. May God and the Holy Spirit help you combat these tools in the public forum. And, there's so much to that quote. There's so much wickedness. And if you don't go at it from a level of truth, it's not going to expose the wickedness. And the wickedness is the part that we need to drill down to. I'm not any smarter, just mad. That's another one that we need to have on a t-shirt, Michael. I'm not smarter. I'm just mad. Oklahoma takes $7 billion in income tax, redistributes back $1 billion in credits, but over $800 million of that is in Oklahoma investment, new jobs credit. Robert, I need to talk to you later on because I think you have information I need. You go, Kennedy. What you're doing is really brave. We're cheering you on. And one of the things that I loved about what Kennedy said, and one of the things that I really hope people get out of her visit with us today, and that is, and like she said, I'm not an expert on this stuff. You don't have to be an expert. I don't know what you need to do to let that sink in. You do not need to be an expert. If you have an opinion about something, your opinion is valid. Until it's not, it is America, and the First Amendment stands. You have the right to go to your county commissioners, your city council, your school board, your representatives, and say what you think. You have that right. And I would argue you have that responsibility. Because and you've said this before too, Michael, if you want to grit and complain and whine about it and do nothing about it, do not do it in front of me. I will throw punch you. I'm very tired of that because people like me and Kennedy and Sandra and everybody else, we need to have you in the game working, not bitching. All right. And to do that, you need to be brave. The left always wins because they're louder and more vocal than the right. They're smaller, but louder. We need to become louder if we want change. Amen. Amen. Earl's daughter. So glad to see her this morning. Facts. How can we help her? The petition. Kennedy will send me the petition address. I will put it up on the website before the end of the day she had a couple of wonderful quotes that I'm going to steal from her today and put out. Prayer. Dana and Wendy are agreeing. As a 20-year-old, oh, good, Reagan. I've noticed Gen Z has not learned how to be assertive. It's a real problem. Really? Well, but Gen Z liberals have learned how to be pretty assertive. Maybe we just need to have a class on Gen Z conservatives becoming more assertive. Yes, she is. Our state is blessed to have Kennedy 100%. My 20-year-old and Kennedy are very, very similar, Kennedy and Reagan. Oh, that's the Reagan OB. No wonder I love Reagan OB. When phones had cords, people, I like
Yeah.
that.
That's 100%, Lisa.
Write that down. Another t-shirt. Lisa's on t-shirt plane today. That's a good one. When phones had cords, people were free. When phones became cordless, people became enslaved. Lisa, you are 100% over the target today, my dear friend. Reagan, I sadly agree. I have 20 something kiddos. I think a lot of it comes from not having a society with set guidelines. It's tough to stand strong in a free for all. I got to tell you, that is, don't even know how to put words to that. That's so true. So let me just tell a quick story. I have been reading Whitney Webb's first volume of the Epstein Chronicles. And I mean, it's so depressing. And I mean, because if you really want to listen to that and pay attention to it, everybody's bought. I mean, Trump's bought off. Reagan was. I mean, everybody that we've thought was somebody that really had our own interests at heart, or America or whatever, hasn't, because they've had their own under the table deals or what, and it just gets depressing. And so the other day, I literally was standing in the kitchen because I listen while I do chores, right? So I was doing peaches, and I was literally standing in the kitchen, and I started to cry because I'm like, I'm getting so overwhelmed that I just don't see the point. I mean, what is the point in any of this? Why am I doing anything? This is all rotten. It's all, I mean, it's like buying a house and the foundation is rotten. You know, what are you going to do? The foundation's rotten. You have to tear down the house and start over. So I'm sitting there thinking that and going, so what are we doing? Why are we doing any of this? What is the purpose of anything that we're doing? And because God is bigger and who God is, I had a prompting to open an email. I mean, like, get completely out of that program, that Audible program, and open an email. And it was an email from a friend that had just out of nowhere, had the title of a book in it that I thought, oh my gosh, this is something that I really want to look at. And it was by a man named Rod Dreher, Dreher. And he's written several books that Christians would know. He's a Christian writer. One of them was Live Not by Lies. That was a Rod Dreher book. And the one that I was looking at was called Crunchy Cons. And it's about how conservatives today are kind of becoming the hippies of the 60s, where we're like, no, you can't put up a solar panel over this farm and not, so we don't have a place to feed cows. I mean, it's a very interesting book. And unfortunately, Audible didn't have it. But when I went on Audible to search, I found another book by Rod Dreher called The Benedictine Principle, or The Benedict Principle, sorry. And it's about how Benedictine monks basically take themselves out of society and become a society unto themselves. And once they do that, they are more in tune with God, which then it puts their heart at rest and makes the rest of the world seem like a better place, because we're focusing on God and not on politics. And after reading that, and so I actually bought the book and I put down Whitney Webb's book and started reading Rod Dreher's book and on the Benedict Principle. And I felt so much better after reading some of this, because I thought, you know what, we're not focusing on the right place. I mean, God has to be the focus. It's like Kennedy said with truth. We can't fight wickedness without the sword of truth. We can't do that. But if we're not going to acknowledge that, and we're just going to fight each other over politics, then we're getting nowhere. And so I started, I'm not giving up politics for whatever reason. God's put me in this sphere, and that's where I operate. So I'm not giving that up. But what I'm saying is, I think we need to change the focus there. And one of the things that Rod Dreyer says in this book, and I would suggest people read it, it was super helpful. And he had a really great timeline in the second chapter, and I'm going to try to transcribe it and put it into a blog for people to read, because I think it's, once you know where things come from, you kind of can stand back and go, okay, so now I see where this comes from. So now I think I know how to steer it in a different direction. And so it was super helpful from that perspective. So I think Earl's daughter's right. And I think what Rod Dreyer said was important, because that's what he said. Without God, without biblical principles, we basically are just floating in a sea of whatever garbage we've created for ourselves, right? We have to get out of that and use truth over all. I mean, I think you'd agree with that, wouldn't you, Michael?
Yeah, and I kind of explained that. I mean, my take or rendition on that, Jenny, is we're labeled as consumers. I mean, literally, we're consumers. Everything we do, we consume. You know, we're consuming, you know, all these things, and we consume them to make us feel a certain way. Well, it's like I tell my kids, if you were, you know, really very spiritually strong, and your connection with God was, that's where your love is derived from, not from buying this or having this or eating this or having to watch this to feel good, you know, to make yourself feel good. You know, that gap is being filled, you know, by all this, you know, mortal consumption that is in front of us. I mean, that's how I kind of talk about my kids, to say, you know, I don't want you to have to buy something to make yourself feel good, or to be happy, or to be content,
or to watch something.
I want you to feel good because you were created by God and put here, you know, for a reason, you know, and there's such a connection to all of that. I mean, that's, I try to emphasize that all the time, but that's how I kind of explain that same thing in one way or another. But, you know, it's so hard to not, you know, do all those things, because it's so easy. It's so easy to consume, and they've made it easy on purpose. And that consumption side breaks people's, you know, their morality and all the things that comes along with it. And that's why we have this society that's so broken. And you have, you know, all of the sexuality that's injected into it, and just the total indulgence, and just everything is self-gratification, and, you know, just it's just terrible. But I hope that at least my impact on some people can, you know, be like, hey, there's something a lot bigger than all of that out here. And I just hope you can connect to that, so you don't have to, you know, waste all your time, you know, on all this stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, we have to quit focusing on feelings and focus on truth. I mean, it's true. Robert says, and yeah, that's true. This is cracking me up. So remember, we're talking about green here. No smirking, no video. True that. Oh, John Boy hadn't. Oh, no disrespecting. I didn't realize that one, but that was another one. No disrespecting. By the comments, this podcast will align with my PowerPoint. So sorry I missed this. Because John Boy has one that he's going to come on. Is it this month or next month? I don't remember, John. No, next month in August, and talk about the what's going on with the RFID tags and cattle and some other thing. They flooded Rapid City in the 1970s they did? Shelley, where? I want to know. By seeding and admitted it. That's pretty interesting. I have a paper on that, Michael. Yep, the government goal was to weaponize the weather. There are literally hundreds of patents available online for the public to read. Weather modification is not conspiratorial or a theory, except for my husband, but we're working. Watch Sean Ryan's episode with the CEO of Rainmaker. Is that the weird little dude whose first name is Augustus, and he's got a mullet?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, well, number one, his name is Augustus and he has a mullet. I mean, there are problems like just right before he opens his mouth. It was June 9th, episode 207, I think. The last cloud seed over that area of Texas was 2 days right before the flood. It's not a conspiracy. It's literally out in the open. Billionaires are building bunkers. Ask yourself why. That does frighten me a little bit. They are contracting out large drone companies now to disperse chemicals, not just airplanes. True that. Have seen that as well. Once you bring up the CIA weather mod documents, meteorologists start. Here's the keys to Oklahoma. J.J. Humphrey had to move his study out of the Capitol. He had a full house that day, too, and a lot of questions by elected politicians. That was just a year ago. That's true. No, it wasn't even a year ago, John Boy. I believe it was in February. Dorn, yes, that's on the Rainmaker website that they use drones. I'm late. We'll reward and watch. I want to know why Jenny wants to throw punch people. Because don't you? Come on. Be honest. That should be on a t-shirt. I'll throw punch you. You don't believe in weather modification? I'll throat punch you. I think there's a misconception that conservative means weak and I'm not sure. Quiet, probably weak and quiet. Gen Z liberals have learned to be aggressive, not assertive. Oh, good point.
Well, I mean, just think of how crazy, and all those young Antifa people and all those groups like that. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say they're assertive. They're pretty dang aggressive.
Yeah. I think that's
Violent,
I think that's a fair call. I totally do. It's an A word, but it means something totally different. Gen X here, and I'm not weak or quiet. No, you're not. Oh, rewind. Okay, I was like, I'm not sure what you can reward us if you would like. Wasn't sure where you were going with that. Remark to Earl's daughter: for when it takes a village to raise a kid, but the village is evil. Parents are fighting an all but lost cause to do good and teach good, for the evil village has many voices. Then they tell them to do as they please. Yes. And that is exactly the bottom line. Honestly, that's the bottom line. It's like you said, Michael, what you said was 177,000% true. It's all about feelings. And once you go from Bible, from truth to feelings, then here's a blueprint for life, right? There are rules, there are regulations, there are whatever, but then you have nothing over here. And we've talked about this on this show before. It was a psychological study that was done at an elementary school that did not have a fence around the playground. And with the elementary school students, when they did not have a fence around the playground, what would happen is they would run out to play, but they would hang right around the building. They didn't really go anywhere. They were just hanging right around the building. And then, and people were noticing this and like, why aren't you going out and playing? And they even try to get the kids to go up, but they just were not comfortable. And they came back to the building. As soon as they put a fence up around the playground, guess where the kids went? Anywhere they wanted, all over the place. Because whether we like to believe it or not, whether you're an atheist and you just do not believe in God, it doesn't matter. Whatever you think, you can think that not having boundaries is healthy, but it's the antithesis of being healthy. You can't be healthy without some kind of boundaries around your life. I prefer those to be biblical, but if you're not a Christian or a Bible believer, then come up with your own. That unrestrained people are evil. They're evil. Shelley says, Jenny, you're a bulldozer exposing the wicked. The Bible is full of excerpts of the removal of the wicked in the last days. I believe you're led by the Spirit in the last days for that removal. Thank you. That's so sweet. And you know I love you for more than that. Heads up, print out those chemical SAI patent lists. Ooh, that's probably true. Google and other search engines are going to make them scarce, and soon they'll be unavailable together. The Benedict option by Rod Dreyer. Thank you. I was going to put that up, but I'll leave that up there for you guys. Really, seriously, I think we're all called to know the truth about everything. We should know the truth about everything. But I also believe that the truth, while it can set you free, it can also make you crazy. I mean, especially right now because of everything that's going on. Stop just a minute and read the Benedict option. I've just read the first 3 chapters, and I felt so much better after I did it, because it's not about us. It's not about us. And as soon as you remind yourself, because I know that, but I think you need to be reminded. I do. Because my head's in the trenches and I'm busy running like a hamster on the wheel. Got to do this. We got to do this. Right? It can get exhausting. Decadence and convenience lead to tyranny, and we have been well conditioned. Amen. Amen. We want to need guardrails to feel safe. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, I believe that 100%. So you got some stuff up there. Go, because now we're through the.
Well, first, a little PSA just for anyone that wants to know.
Okay.
On the Real ID, since you mentioned it earlier in the show, you can just go right down to the tag agency or the license place, that you got your driver's license from. You just say, I want to remove the Real ID. You pay a $25 fee. You sign a piece of paper that says you're opting out of the Real ID system. They take your picture and they give you your license. I just did it with my son literally 2 weeks ago. The one who turned 16, and they pressured him into doing Real ID, said you can't do it if you don't. So we just reversed that, just for anyone that wants to know. That's the process. Just go in there, say, I want it off. You pay $25, you sign a form, and then you're done. They give you your license. And then second, go ahead.
No.
Well, I was going to change subject. So if you're going to say something.
Okay. Well, I was going to follow up on what you said, because remember our Real ID expert said the whole plan is just not to get the Real ID, because we're just trying to keep people from getting the Real ID. I'm re-upping my passport. I had pictures taken yesterday. I had like a very bad day yesterday. And part of it was because I had pictures taken for my passport renewal. I can't look like that. I mean, if I do, I'm going to go play in traffic. I just simply can't look like. I had to show Betty, because I was out with Betty yesterday. I was like, please, honey, I'm like on the verge of tears. Please, honey, tell me I don't look like that. She goes, Mom, you don't look like that.
I need to show you, Jenny. I need to show you my wife's concealed carry permit back when they had the permits and we got them. She literally, because I took the photos at the house, kind of on, according to their guidelines, and I had to kind of trim, the background or hair a little bit or whatever it was. She literally looks like a Russian assassin in this picture. It looks nothing like her. I mean, even when she got it back, she's like, "What the heck? What is this picture?" I was like, I don't know. She's like, I look like some babushka from Russia. And I was like, it is hilarious. I need to show that to you. I won't show it online because she'll be mortified, but I'll show it to you sometime. It is hilarious. Speaking of,
mine didn't look like that. They looked like. I looked like I was like 107 years old, and you could see all.
Well, that's good. Maybe that's what you
And
want.
my
You want that
hair looked
picture.
like this thin, like it was like not real. It was horrible. It's just it was just horrible.
Well, maybe that's the
Okay.
picture you want in the government's database. That way it's not so easy to recognize you with facial recognition. So
Michael,
that can't be. I'm looking
I
at
swear
this
to
picture.
God, we are siblings from different parents because that's exactly what I told Betty.
Yeah. You pull up, you're coming back into the country. This guy's looking at this and says, "Yeah, this looks like a 108-year-old lady right here. What the heck's going on?"
Oh my gosh, you make me giggle so hard. That was so funny because I swear we're siblings. It's the craziest thing. So many things you say, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. It's just cracks me up. Lisa says reading Revelation helps remind me that some things must happen. We still fight tyranny, but some things must happen. That's for sure. Wendy says there's a tag agency north of Edmond that still does regular licenses. I have one. I refuse to do the real ID. If I need to travel, I will use my passport. And don't forget, Wendy, part of the reason why I'm getting my passport updated is because now you can get the card. And you can't use that to travel outside of the country, but you can use that to travel on a plane inside the country. So I'm just going to hand them my card and go here. Not that they don't use, I don't want to get into all of that. And Lisa, I'm not pinning that up, but you're very sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. She says that pictures lie and that I'm not ugly. So that's nice. I appreciate her. I raised my kids to respect their elders, but sadly, once they hit employment age, we had to revisit that because of the evil village elders. No place is safe these days. Do you know, my son works for Sam's. He's come in several times and said, do you know who the meanest people are to him? Are older people. And they call him these horrible names, and he comes home and tells me. And I'm like, okay, show me who. I'm going to throat punch him. Aging naturally looks a million times better than, well, and that's true, but you didn't see these pictures.
You didn't see Jenny. Wow, you should have had a cane or something with you in that picture.
I'm serious. I was like seriously close to tears. They were so bad. Thank you, Earl's daughter. Y'all are so funny. Well, it's based on reality, and reality is often hysterical. Almost speechless. Did I tune into Comedy Hour? Sorry, yeah. I'm sorry. But we gotta laugh too, for Pete's sakes. Everything's so awful. Okay, you were gonna change the subject.
Well, before I change subject, I will give a little bright spot. The girl that was helping me over here, I went to the village, the tag agency here in the village, just right by my office. Mm-hmm. So I was in there. She was getting ready to take my picture. She's printing out all the stuff. She goes, can I just ask you, why are you doing that? So I just gave her a little, 2-3 minute explanation. And she's like, you know what? I never even thought of that. She goes, I'm going to take mine off too. I mean, literally just like that. It wasn't like I had to give her some massive dissertation or convince her. I just said, hey, this is, the road that it's leading towards. And I said, we kind of already live in a surveillance state. So, but anyway, so that's kind of a positive note. But on the surveillance state side, Jenny, I'm proud of my kids. So my oldest son sends me this text the other day. And he's like, hey, check this out. So, because he's Mr. Twitter. So Xfinity, is one of these multimedia companies. They provide communications. They're a communication company. They have like, TV programming, telephone, internet. They're not really a big deal here, but kind of across, on the eastern side of the United States they are. So he sends me this text and it says, use Wi-Fi signals to detect motion in your home at no cost, at no extra cost. So I'm like, what the heck? And, we've had Julianne Romanello on with us, and we've talked about this kind of stuff in some capacity. So I was like, that can't be true. So I just went over to their website, Xfinity's website, after I saw that. Oops, wrong one. So here's their website, and I went over to their Wi-Fi part. So you got these people, they're so happy they're online. He's got his phone. She's online. Detect movement in your home with Wi-Fi motion. Okay, so then, so you can go down through this whole deal. So I went to one of their other pages and literally, so I just came into this page. So they've got their modem here, which, you're going to have a modem from Cox or whoever. Yeah. And then, so this is one of their FAQ motion deals. And I've gone into the other parts of this to kind of read it in further detail. And they literally just, between the distance between your modem and here's like a TV connected. Here's here's printer. A printer.
Yeah.
and here's the actual modem. I don't know what that is. That's something else. But anyway, so this is literally just in between these. It's able to detect motion in your house. Think of the surveillance of all
that
the
is so
devices
bad.
Inside your house. This is just what they're telling us. Think about the amount of mapping that they're doing, the amount of data collection. Because if they can literally pick you up moving in your house through a Wi-Fi signal, think about what they can do that they're not telling us. I spent like an hour just looking into all the different stuff. It's just mind blowing. Think of what they're recording and it's just.
It's like the girl at the tag agency, which, by the way, Earl's daughter said, "Way to go, Michael." And then Lisa said Woodcrest Tag Agency. Apparently Wendy and Lisa know what's going on there. Liberty is contagious. Remove your real ID. Nice. Yeah. It's probably like the girl and it's, I hate to say this, but it's like my sister. They just don't think Kimberly. Probably.
Well, think about it, Jenny, though. Think about how long they had to have and know and perfect that technology before they even come out and tell you about it, on their website or as a service.
Yeah. And then, so how much were they, how can we, you know what, honestly, Robert, I do believe that that's like the $10 billion question at this point. I don't know how, especially with the advent of AI, I literally don't. I don't know, Michael, do we need to have an expert come on and tell us how to do?
Well, you can't, and I'll tell you why. For years and years and years. So, before I ran for school board and all this stuff, I was a member like JJ Luna, and I've talked about him before on the podcast. He's an author. He's a refugee from one of these kind of I can't remember if he was like around the Canary Islands or something, but he's a refugee of one of these countries that's just like has, incredible surveillance state. Some rogue, person just comes in, overthrows the government. Anyway, He moved here, and his whole deal, he wrote a book or multiple books, but the main one that I followed was How to Become Invisible. That was the name of his book. And it was all about, getting your, personal liability, taking your name off of your house and mailing address, just all kinds of stuff, bank accounts. So he was teaching you all about privacy. This guy was like one of the biggest privacy experts in the world. And I think he's maybe in his 90s now, and he may have passed away here recently. But what I was going to say is, every year, if you bought one of his products, then you were put onto kind of like a special update list. You could register yourself, and you could have communications with him and all kinds of stuff.
Sounds very private.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, at one point, this was maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, he literally sent out his newsletter and said, we're at the point now to where, yes, there are aspects of privacy that, we've tried to maintain for ourselves. But he said, at this point, there is no more privacy. And he said a lot of the aspects of the books and the practices, that we've developed over all these years, they're not applicable anymore. And you just have to try to do your best
Wow.
But he himself said,
Michael.
there is no more privacy when it comes to technology in today's time.
Oh, Michael, that's tragic.
Yeah. And this guy was legit. I mean, I based a lot of, I set up my businesses a certain way because of what he did, with like I was saying with the deal with where I had, an LLC in New Mexico that owns an LLC in Oklahoma, and my name's not affiliated with that in any way because of how it's set up. But
Yeah.
he said, you can't do anything anymore. So I don't know if there is a privacy expert out there that can, help us or guide us. But my deal is what they tell us they have the ability for. I mean, this might have been something they perfected 10 years ago. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Well, and John Boy says, if my son knows your phone number, he can track you for wherever your phone is. It puts off a 911 dispatch location, thus she can be tracked. And that's, I mean, gosh, and it's just,
yeah.
And I don't, I literally thought at one point, what am I doing this for? What do I care? So many people don't care. Why am I sticking myself out there? Why am I doing all of this stuff? I'm just going to unplug and I'm going to go dark and I'm just going to, and I got to thinking about that. And I think it was another one of those God things where I just kind of felt prompted that that's not my calling. I mean, my calling isn't to go into self-protection mode and protect me. For whatever reason, God gave me the ability to communicate with people, and that's what I'm going to do. So if that means that I get tracked, if that means that I'm on a list, if that means, whatever, whatever happens is going to happen. That's, God's got it figured out. I don't. I'm just trying to do what I feel like he's asking me to do. And nobody is going to learn anything if all of us that have the knowledge or that are at least willing to seek the knowledge. And I think that's probably an important divider there. If you really want to seek the knowledge, if there are people out there, there have to be some of us out here directing those people, because whatever happens to us, these people back here that we're teaching might be able to save themselves or other people going forward. And really, that's what it's about. Again, it goes back to Rod Dreher and the Benedict principle. It's not about us. It's not about us. And if you want to make it about you, then it's all about you and your emotions and everything else. And you're not helping anybody. That's not it. It's not life. So, it's always happy people selling us our slavery. I don't know, World Star. We've been laughing all morning, and I'm pretty happy, but I don't want to sell you into slavery. Even when the warning label says it causes anal leakage. True. I mean, it's true when you think about this. How many homeopathic things you could use to, so I'm literally, people are going to laugh, I'm sure, but I think it's funny. Hold on a second, because these are important comments. You can't hide from evil. You have to stand and resist and invite it. You do. You have to. You can't go, no, I'm going away. You can't. So as we're saying, as you and me, Michael, and others are saying, you have to protect your privacy while we're out here going, I have no privacy. That's not the point. The point is we're telling you what to do because you have to instruct others, and it has to be something that comes up from behind to work into the future. It's not going to work for us. That's not our calling. And in that lies the hope. God wins in the end. And that's the fact. So if you don't have a religious viewpoint and you don't believe in God, and you certainly don't believe in Jesus, your life's a little sadder and darker. And I urge you to pray, open yourself up, ask Jesus to come make himself known to you, and he will. He absolutely will. He will. Okay. We're about at the time where we need to sign off, but you had something else I thought that was good up there, didn't you? Or did you not?
No, that's good.
Well, I think as we close out of here today, neither you nor I have hope in any man. Humanity is wicked and fallen, and we can't have hope in humanity. We can only have in Jesus to direct humanity. But I have to say, I've never been more disappointed. I mean, I think about this from my perspective. So I went to DC on January 6th after Trump's first presidential term to hear him talk about what happened in the elections. And lots of people, because I was mayor at the time, lots of people were frustrated by me doing that. I don't know if that's part of the reason why I lost the election. I'm not, it doesn't matter. It's done and over with. But the point of the matter is that I and all these other people who actually got arrested for that and thrown into prison for that have awakened lately. Do you have that video that you sent me yesterday of Trump and Bondi at the press conference?
Oh, you play that?
Yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah. I'll get it and send it over to my computer.
Okay.
That's pretty disheartening.
I don't know how that isn't. I mean, and if people haven't seen the press conference, let's put it this way. If people have seen that press conference and they don't smell a rat and they still want to do 5D chess.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use the term throat punch, but I am going to say, I mean, maybe crack it a few. It's one thing to read about it. It's a completely other thing to see and hear him do it.
Yeah.
That I think, I mean, it was bad enough to read about it, but actually seeing that happen was mortifying. You are so right.
I mean, I don't see any part of 5D chess in the way Trump answered that deal.
Did you find it and pull it up?
Yeah, I've almost got it.
Okay. So if you didn't see this, stay tuned a few more minutes for Michael to get this video up. This is great. Make privacy great again. Make the practice of data collection through technology completely illegal. Anyone looking into elections has likely been on multiple lists for 5 years now. We all know that's going on. I feel what you're saying, Jenny. Literally, Revelation says that we will have a ruler for about an hour.
Could I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah. But we're supposed to fight.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talking about.
Back that up. Start it over. Do what? I can hear it. Yeah, just back it up and start it over.
Well, I just want to make sure you can hear it. So basically, we don't have to play the whole guy's question because he got like a 20-second question leading up. But basically, he's just asking, what's happened, is all the Texas stuff a distraction, from the Epstein, he's just kind of asking that question.
Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the study?
Yeah, sure.
Could I just interrupt for a second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February,
So then Bonnie comes in, with her classic stuff there.
Yeah, but I mean, let people listen to her. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important because she does the same thing that Trump did. So it's very clear that they're working together. We're not going to talk if we just say we're done with this, then it's over and done with. Did he or did he not say when he was running for office, did he or did he not say we were not going to give any more money or stuff to Ukraine? Did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, he says it's going to be over.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he says it's going to be over. And here we are. I mean, I hate to go down that whole Trump, deal, but it's like I texted you yesterday. I mean, where's all the JFK stuff? I mean, all I'm saying
it's
is
sitting on Bondi's desk.
Yeah.
With the Epstein files that she will not release because it's all video. All it is videos of him with pedophilic video.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's basically what she said is it was all a bunch of pedophilia and they're not going to release that to the public. Well, they don't have to release the person, the minor. I want heads to roll. That's the reason why I voted for Trump, because he wasn't going to take any of this BS because of how they shafted him the first time. He was going to, go in there. He was going to do all this stuff and I just don't see it happening. And we're running out of time also. I mean, we're already 6 months in. The midterms are going to be in a year and a half or year and 3 months, actually. And, we're going to be right back in this position where we're going to be just completely whatever. But my biggest problem, Jenny, is in today's time, all this top secret stuff, all this protectionism of the government and all these other things, they work for us. This is our information. It's not their information. They all work for us. I don't care what it is. We need to know what is going on. This is our country, not their country. I want to know everything that's going on and how bad. I mean, yeah, we're a great country. The people of the United States are great. The government is horrible. The government's tyrannical. All these agencies are corrupt as corrupt can be. We need to shine light on every single one of them, get rid of all of them. We need to know exactly what they've been doing, how they've been doing it, who they've been hurting, who they've been killing, who they've been suppressing. That's what I want to know. There is no more top secret. Oh, there's no need to know. This is, to me, the biggest ruse in the world is this national security. Can't say that for national security. It's government security. There is no national. It's not, they're not protecting me by not telling me all these people that were on the plane and going over to Epstein Island. They're not protecting me. They're protecting themselves and their little sycophantic gang of, tyrants. So I want it. I want the doors. I want some politician to just blow the doors off of all the BS and say, look, this is what's really been happening, this year, last year, the last 10 years, the last 20 years, the last 30 years. Yeah, we've been doing experiments. We've been controlling you. Your food is horrible. This, we know all this stuff. There is no greater good in any. I mean, I want to know the truth. You talk about all the time. I just want the truth. I'm tired of all the lies. I'm tired of all the corruption. I want the actual truth of what has happened, why we are where we are today, and then let's go forward fixing all of that.
Well, and here's the thing. Let's just say they couldn't release it because it would have started World War III or something. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So then you come forward and you say, I told you guys that I was going to do this when I ran, that I was going to show you all of the stuff in the Epstein files. I know I said that, but the problem is I didn't know what was in them until I actually saw them. And we could maybe release a few things here and there, but the problem is it's so pervasive. I mean, there could have been some kind of declaratory statement there, some kind of explanatory explanatory, there we go, explanatory statement. There could have been something like that. But instead, and I'm going to throw this up really fast. I'll go back to a couple other comments, but this is the one that I relate to the most. With all due respect, Mr. President, don't scold us like children because we care about the perverse blackmail operation dictating policy and destroying children's lives. She's 100,000% over that. He talked to the people. The people, like he was scolding small children. How dare you do? Well, how dare you, Mr. President? How dare you say, I'm going to do this, immediately get in. And then, I got so much blowback because I made the point on my Facebook page the other day. The president of the United States saying that he's going to primary Rand Paul because Rand Paul won't get on the Trump train is beyond disgusting. You, Mr. President, have no right to do an end run around we the people. If the people in Kentucky don't want him reelected, he won't be reelected. You cannot your money into a campaign to unseat somebody that we the people in Kentucky want in there. I mean, I can't tell you how frustrating it is to know that I went to DC on January 6th, all of the things that happened. Think about these people who have been in prison and what this man is been saying and how he's doing. I would feel like I'd just been blown up by a bazooka.
I agree. I agree 100%, Jenny.
The checkmate of the 5D chess game is not in our favor, obviously. When Jesus comes back, may he find me fighting what's right and not going along with what the world is doing. Amen, Reagan. I'll be right there with you like your mom. He disappoints me more each day. Denying this info because of Texas denies the hundreds of victims who were horribly hurt by him. And this is another one that I think is important. This is why his BBB passed, because how many trillions of dollars did he up our deficit? That's another one. No, we're going to rein spending. We're going to get spending under control. But first, we have to throw the deficit up. Again, another $1 trillion. And people overlook that because they're all like, oh, well, this happened and this was in the bill and this was in the bill. He literally has come out and given you the big middle finger over his campaign promises, like 5 of them in the week. And I do think that part of the reason why they don't want to give up the Epstein file is because they're using it for blackmail. It's too good a fodder. If I have that sitting in my lap, all I have to do is say, you'll do what I want. Whoa.
Yeah, and then you're in the same situation as anybody that has power over someone else. You're at their will, and it's just like the deal with like what you said with Rand Paul. I mean, I voted for Trump because I wanted the truth, and he was saying he's going to do all this stuff against the system that has been in place. So you can protect all the people in the Epstein files, all the underage people that were abused and, I mean, maybe even killed. Or, I mean, who knows how far it went. But every single person that participated in that needs to go to prison, in my opinion. And if there is no repercussion, whether it's blackmail or not, and how is it okay for the president or a party to blackmail someone else, with that information to get their legislation passed, if that's what the case is? I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but probably is. Why is it okay for them to do that? And there's still no repercussion. There's no consequence for everything that was, and that's just one isolated case. And, I brought up a whole bunch of stuff last time, but we're in an age now to where we need to know the truth. We're not little, pleb kids, little immature little beings that don't know any better, and they're protecting us from, whatever this evil force is. They are the evil force, in my opinion. I mean, I want to know that if someone does something morally wrong, there's going to be a consequence because we're better than that. We, the people in the United States, are better than that.
I love this one. Still talking about Epstein. Yeah. And Kennedy dismantled the CIA and the FBI, but now we got Cash Patel in there, who, after saying, we're going to get Epstein, we're going to open the files, we're going to do this, now all of a sudden he and Dan Bongino are, yes, Mr. President, no, everything's fine here. No, it's okay. It's fine. Really?
You got that one missing minute from the video that goes back for 20 years because it just resets itself. Okay.
Because it just does that.
Well, and Jenny, when you think about it in a bigger scheme of things, was this all, was all the stuff with Cash ahead of this? Was it all planted, to where he was going to be this patriot guy, fighting all this stuff so he could get into this position, 3-4 years down the road to.
Well, it makes you wonder, yes, there was a guy on the roof with a rifle, but he ducks down and comes up. How do you know that was not just painted on blood? How do you know it wasn't real? And that whole thing was just another thing they're trying to kill him. I just wonder how much we're being manipulated. We don't have a fence around us anymore. We are all emotion. Oh my God, they shot the president. I mean, they're playing on our emotions because that's who we are. We're just a bunch of emotive little emotional babies anymore. And they know that. And when you just step back and you look at some of this stuff, you just think, I don't know, man. Am I being played? I mean, I think it's a reasonable question to ask. But if you do that and you ask these questions, it's either 5D chess or well, I just trust, he's better than the alternative. Every time you say he's better than the alternative, that bar goes lower. The bar goes lower. The bar goes lower. Well, but he's better than Satan. I mean, is that how low the bar is going to get?
Well, you got a guy. Yeah, you got a guy like Cash who, supposedly he blew the doors off all the Russiagate stuff. What's come from that? What has literally come out of all of the Russia fake, everything, the dossier fake, all of that? Where's Hillary Clinton in jail? Where's Comey and Brennan and all those guys?
That's what he said over and over again. There will be justice. We are going to restore justice. Well, they're not even communicating about any of those guys. So where is the justice actually going to be then? I mean, he's treating us as though we're his low-level employees who just asked for the keys to his mansion and his PIN numbers. And then Marvin said it was $3.3 trillion that they raised the deficit. 3.3 trillion. No, we're going to try to save America. We have to make sure that, our kids don't suffer all of this debt. And then there will be people, when you complain about this, because I've read this too, they'll say, oh, well, inside that bill, there's plenty of ways that we're going to turn this economy around, and that's going to just shoot the engine of the economy straight high, and we'll get all of this debt paid down, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Bring me Epstein's client list, and I'll believe you on all of that bull crap too. But right now, I don't believe anything that you're telling me.
And even more disappointing, Jenny, is Bongino, because the stuff he was saying for years on his radio show, now he gets in there and he's just a good little boy. He's just a good little boy. Good little Dan. Good little Dan. Just say what you need. Good boy. I mean, come on.
They even get him. I thought he was pretty squeaky clean. So, I mean, how did they even get his knickers in a twist? I mean, that's something that, this is so, I advise anyone who will listen never to sign a 3-page paper at the doctor's office without reading it thoroughly. Imagine what's in this big, beautiful bill. Amen. We were given the carrot, and now we're being beaten with the stick. Are we bending carrots when the truth is there are no carrots? I think that's true. It all comes down to money. If you have enough, you're protected against anything while living on this earth temporarily. Yeah. Well, that's true. Because where's the little missing piece of the ear? Well, probably, but I mean, again, don't you wonder these things now looking back on it? Because honestly, if I'm pretty tough, I mean, for an old lady, I'm pretty tough. I don't look like it in the pictures that they took yesterday. I'm just saying, but I am pretty. I can't imagine having a bullet whiz by, it shoots me in the ear, and then I have the wherewithal to go. It was just too perfect.
And how do you not? Well,
now and look at it based on all of the crap that's not happening right now.
Yeah,
it's too perfect.
Well, and then you got, don't forget the guy at Mar-a-Lago, Jenny, at the golf course, or whoever, the other guy.
Oh, that guy.
There was another guy over there. So you've got multiple assassination attempts. How do you not just blow the lid on, here's this guy, here's who he's affiliated with, these are all the people that conspired to take me down. I want the American public to know what we're dealing with here. How do you just close the door on all that? Just move down the road.
But that's another good point. Why is that? I mean, if somebody shot me and tried to shoot me in the head, I guarantee you, excuse my French, that I would be doing everything in my power as the president to bring that to justice. But oh no, they already got the guy on the roof. Done.
Yeah.
Nothing
and you go back to all the charges against Trump and all the different states and all the election stuff. Maybe that was all just a ruse, just to guarantee that he's going to get into office with these
so think about that.
Have all been war gamed and planned out. Maybe it was all on purpose.
So that's the thing. Then it's uniparty central, man.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, I don't want to believe that, but maybe it is. Maybe they're that sophisticated that they can say, hey, because think about Trump, and not saying Trump's the mastermind behind all this, but he's
a cog in the wheel.
Yeah, whoever, Trump had the best, the most reactive branding in the entire world.
Yeah.
Make America great again, America first. That is the best branding to get someone elected at the national, at the federal level you could possibly ever come up with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's a genius in branding. There's people that know how to control people. Know how to message and control. And you've got all this technology now. And I'm reverting to saying that it was that organic as it was. I don't think it was organic. I'm thinking it was more and more planned and contrived, whether it was some type of operation or whether the powers that be, maybe Trump is somewhat innocent in the deal, that they just used him as a pawn because of his likability and his branding ability. And, maybe they just used him to put him into place. And then now they've got him in check. Maybe he's just in check.
I don't know. That the way he upbraided people at that press conference the other day about the Logan County values Marvin Goodman, why I can't support Kash Patel as President Trump's nominee to head the FBI. He has advocated for no warrant requirements to search Americans' communications. Kash Patel has expressed a view that has sparked significant debate over the privacy of U.S. citizens. He believes the FBI should be able to access the communications of American citizens without a warrant under FISA Section 702. His position is that once that these and that's a problem with this. I can't read the whole thing. It cuts it off after he's better. I get so sick of that. I'm like, if you say it was better than what we had, I will give you one thing. People now are less frightened of speaking out. But then at a point with Biden, people see, that's the thing. And that's where we're always going to be screwed, because now people are willing to speak out because Biden isn't in there, and they're like, oh, Trump, I can say whatever I want. Well, that isn't really freedom. That's getting a pass. But getting a pass isn't freedom. It's not liberty. And I think you really learn who you are when you're speaking out, when you have somebody who's legitimately trying to tyrannize you. And then, of course, government exists to make people feel good about being ruled by the wicked. Absolutely. Honestly, I've never liked him, but we didn't really have a choice in the end. We had a choice. We just decided we didn't want that choice because we believed that Trump was going to do what he said because he had a likability factor. Don't forget, Trump was a Democrat for forever. He was running buddies with Clinton. That's absolutely factual. Put not your faith in men. And that's what we have. Absolutely. Of course, it's uniparty. Has been for years. Politics is just a puppet show on a grand scale. And Gracie, I totally believe that because when you read Whitney Webb's book, that's why I had to put it down because it was just so depressing because you go back and you realize how the Rockefellers, how the, all the big five, they controlled everything. And one of the biggest gangsters, I forget what's his first name, Cohen, the attorney for the mob, basically back in the
yeah, I'll think of it in a minute.
Yeah, he was apparently Donald Trump was his he trained up Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're surprised about any of this stuff. We should all have questions. We've all should question those photos of if his head had been a quarter inch to the right, he'd be gone. But instead, we were just grateful he was spared. What if he was never in any danger at all? Was this all optics? And I think you have to, at this point, you have to at least ask these questions. I think you're being a responsible citizen to at least just ask these questions.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you said, Jenny, if someone tries to assassinate you, do you just let it go? Do you not move? I mean, mountains to make the truth of the situation known. But there again, you know what's really happening? I mean, we see the charade, the national circus here up in Washington. We're so involved in that. So what's really happening at our local level? Are we making any progress where it really matters? Or are we getting like these communist, uniparty governors installed, DAs installed, judges installed right under our nose because we're so busy, looking there at Washington and everything that's going on all the time. I mean, we only have so much energy and time in a day to really focus in where we need to. I mean, is it all just a distraction? Is everything over there just a complete distraction to keep us riled up and thinking and talking about all this stuff rather than what's really happening, like with these data centers or this or that, all this quiet stuff that's going on locally, maybe that's part of the plan.
But see, I honestly do believe, and we're going to have to get off of here because we just went wackadoo on attacking this problem. I think that's the other reason why Liberty, Oklahoma, our Liberty, Oklahoma convention in November 13th through the 15th, go to libertyoklahoma.org. I'm still working on that website, but libertyoklahoma.org. We're going to start selling tickets on August 1st. The whole idea is to get people to identify with local politics, local, and not worry about what's going on at the federal level. Because people, you have got to understand, if you know what's going on here, if you can make a difference with what's going on under your feet, if you can be like Kennedy Garza and help stop a data center that's going to possibly ruin your neighborhood and eat up a whole bunch of water and energy in your area, then you need to be on that, not worrying about Trump pumping $3.3 trillion back up on the deficit. You've got to have your head here because theoretically, we can change what's under our feet. And once we do that, we can push back against the feds, but we can't do anything until we have it under our feet. So again, libertyoklahoma.org, go there. We're going to have the conference at Okana I went and visited it yesterday with my little Miss Betty White, and with Kendra Wesson, who's working. We're working together on this, and it's a beautiful place. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll learn a lot of things that we can take outside of that to learn how to affect what's under our feet. Because as soon as we do that, we can make some wins. We can get some wins. We've seen that already. We've seen that in the last election cycle. We can do it. We just need to get trained and communicate with one another, be connected. And I think we can do that. So, tell my family that I got screamed at by 3 of them at dinner for merely suggesting this last year after the incident, for them to use their critical thinking skills on things that don't make sense, no matter what the situation is, no matter the person involved. Always ask questions and watch who gets ticked off when they ask. It's good practice. I agree. Local. Jenny, sign me up for your conference. I want to help. I'll talk to you about that later. Absolutely. We do still need sponsors. If you want to sponsor, that's great. We're going to have tables that are opening up, that if you have an organization that you want to buy a table for, we're going to have that available. So I just think this is going to be a great thing for all of us to really plant our feet locally and make some changes. So thanks for being with us today. And thanks to Kennedy Garza. Man, what a firecracker. Just love that girl. She is awesome. Start growing your own Kennedy Garzas at home. And, we will have, guess who's going to be on with us on Friday?
Who?
Not even a guess. John Cox. John Cox is going to be superintendent at PEGS. John Cox is going to be on with us on Friday at 9 a.m. You won't want to miss that. He's now running for superintendent. We haven't even heard what Ryan Walters is doing, but he is going to run again. So we'll talk to him on Friday. So be sure to be there. Anything going on with you?
Nothing that I can talk about or disclose for national security reasons.
Okay, Miguel. All right. We will see everybody again. Thanks for being with us today. Please share the video. We still have a Patreon account. I'll get that up as soon as I worry about the other things that I'm having to do. But you can always donate there at our Patreon. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for going over. Earl's daughter says, thanks for going over. I need this comic relief and emotional dumping. Well, we're glad you're here to do that with us. All right. Have a great day, guys. And we'll see you again Friday morning at 9 a.m. and share.